Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, hey, way too fast. Way too fast. I gotta go. I'm in the zone. Foot on the gas. Foot on the gas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. GPS. I got goals. I know where to go, so I never crash. Yeah. Hey, hey, way too fast. Way too fast. I gotta go. I'm in the zone. Foot on the gas. Foot on the gas. Yeah. Hey, GPS. I got goals. I know where to go, so I never crash. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in the end zone. Where did he go? You way too slow, homie, I been gone. I know you see, I got the wings, homie, I been flown. Me and the team going for rings, that is the end goal. Hey, I go beast mode, all around the world like Eco. I go crazy like CeeLo, can't stop me like Chico's. I'm suave like Rico, can't be mine no repo. This my home like Depot, can't deny like Vito. Hey, hey, way too fast. I gotta go, I'm in the zone, foot on the gas. Foot on the gas, yeah, yeah, yeah. GPS, I got goals, I know where to go, so I never crash. Hey, hey, way too fast. I gotta go, I'm in the zone, foot on the gas. Foot on the gas, yeah. Hey, GPS, I got goals, I know where to go, so I never crash. Hey, hey, way too fast. I gotta go, I'm in the zone, foot on the gas. Foot on the gas, yeah, yeah, yeah. GPS, I got goals, I know where to go, so I never crash. Hey,
From America's heartland, the virtual Kansas Speedway plays host to Season 5 of the SAAC Cup Series as we draw nearer to the end of the season in the Eliminator chase. Just 3 races to go. Nate Polite alongside Kenneth Bueno. It's been a long and winding yellow brick road to get to this point, Kenneth. What do we have in store tonight?
Well, we have ourselves a great race. Lots of tire wear, multi-lines, a lot of different ways you can attack this Kansas Speedway. And also, by the way, 2 of the next 3, including tonight, are all mile-and-a-half tracks, Homestead being the finale. So 3 drivers being eliminated tonight, Nate. The stakes are really high at a track that we've known that can produce really good racing in this next-gen car. So the drivers will have a lot on their hands once they take that green flag in just a bit.
And you mentioned it, 2 of the final 3 races in this Eliminator chase schedule for the SAAC Cup Series, mile-and-a-half intermediate tracks. Up to this point throughout the entirety of the season, we've only had 3 mile-and-a-half tracks, a 4th intermediate at Auto Club all the way in the 2nd race of the season. When you've not gone to these cookie cutters all season, Kenneth, what does that do to the driver's head?
It definitely makes things a little bit rusty. I think for a lot of NASCAR history, the drivers in real life, and even drivers on iRacing with leagues that replicate the NASCAR schedule, they're used to seeing a lot of these typical mile-and-a-half tracks a lot more frequently than they have this season, and that's a strategic point by the SAAC Cup Series admins, is to change things up, be the most adaptable driver over the course of this entire Eliminator chase, let alone the rest of the season, and be the best driver in points. Again, this is a non-playoff format. This is points, points, points. You work your way to a championship by being the most consistent. And so it's been a curveball throughout the Eliminator chase and throughout the season, not seeing a lot of mile-and-a-halves, but that does make races like these feel a lot more special and also feel a lot more pressure-filled for those that feel this is their best type of track.
And far and away the most consistent and most adaptable driver all season long has been our points leader, James Thurston. Road courses, short tracks, you've got it. However, mile-and-a-halves, the intermediate tracks, have not been his forte. He's yet to go to victory lane at an intermediate racetrack this season. And looking down the points board, Ollie Reeves won at Auto Club, AJ Hyder won at Kentucky, Stephen Maggio won a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas. We see guys that have gone and competed at mile-and-a-halves that are a little further down the board, and you look right around this cut line, Andretti Robinson, Wyatt Roberts, Jonathan Juergensmeyer, Austin Duran, likely the drivers that are going to be in play for the elimination. But there's double points if you finish good enough today. The 2 best finishes you get in this Eliminator chase are going to be double points. And a win, of course, that's the best that you can get. So you'd be looking at seeing a huge jump if you're one of these guys below the cut line. It could not only get you across this time, but it could set you up for next week's elimination race at Martinsville as well.
And we also look at those drivers in the back half of the top 10, and for those 6th through 9th, you probably think, well, maybe 50-ish points away, 44 points if you're Christopher Robinson. That's relatively safe for most NASCAR point system standards, but not here in the SAAC Cup Series, Nate. That can easily swing to a backfall, a slide beyond that red and black cut line around the top 9. And remember, 3 drivers eliminated tonight, and then 3 more eliminated next week at Martinsville. So not only do you have to think about possibly staying away from that cut line in this race, then next race, if you stay in that top 9, you're on the bubble. So the 2 Robinsons and Andretti and Christopher, Cody Rivera back in 7th, they are not safe whatsoever. They need to maximize the points tonight, understanding next week at the paperclip, it's not going to be so easy to get those points.
And we see kind of a bubble there from 3rd place all the way down to 8th. That 15 points separate those drivers. So we're going to have a lot of fun next week at the paperclip. But a driver that's going to have some fun tonight, he's going to be under a lot of stress. Wyatt Roberts, -6 coming into this race. Wyatt, first and foremost, thanks for joining us here pre-race. And second, let's cut to the chase. 6 points out. What are you going to need tonight?
Definitely going to need a good run, of course. I mean, depending on who finishes well and who doesn't have a good race, I mean, could be a top 10, but a top 5 would guarantee it. But I'm going to at least try for a top 10.
And one of the last times we came to a mile-and-a-half this season, Kentucky, you played the strategy, took the 2 tires, got to the front of the field, and it jumped your finishing position way up the order. If you're put in a situation like that, are you going to be gutsy again?
Yeah, I think so. I want to try and stay up front, or I'm starting mid-pack, but I want to work my way to the front, and using strategy to do that could be the way. And I've been doing a lot more 2-tire stuff in the next gen, so I'm getting more comfortable with that. So could do that, or try and stay out and play the single file restarts.
We're going to be keeping an eye on you all night long, Wyatt. Thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck out there tonight.
Thank you.
Driver of the 42 car, Wyatt Roberts, again, 6 points behind the Eliminator chase cutoff line. We've seen him do it before. He mentioned just now he likes to go and play those strategy games. That could be huge, especially, he mentioned it, these single file restarts, Kenneth. That'll help you keep your track position.
Yeah, for sure. And we know that Kansas has multiple grooves. It's an available track to be able to make a difference and be able to step in clean air, make some clean passes, and work your way through the field. But we've seen already, even in the short sample size of intermediate tracks that we've had this season, it has been relatively hard to pass at, especially once the long run kicks in. You think 10 to 15, 20 laps into a run, then it almost feels impossible to make a difference on strategy and speed alone with these fixed setups. So Wyatt does have to clean his way through the field. He does have that momentum from last week's race at Dover, finishing top 10. He got an 8th place spot to stay alive in the first round of elimination at the Monster Mile, so he can definitely keep that momentum up. But of course, it's all about maintaining that level of consistency for Wyatt Roberts in the 42. Also being patient in a race like this.
Absolutely, and patience is a virtue. You mentioned it, Kenneth. There's a couple of ways you can get around this track here in the Heartland, Kansas Speedway. So why don't you go ahead and take our fans at home on board for a couple trips around the circuit.
So this Kansas Speedway opened all the way back in 2001, and the one thing to note about this track, progressive banking, 17 to 20 degrees in turns 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4. Mind you, that's the same near about as banking in progressive nature as we'll see in the finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. 1.5 mile configuration, 2.4 miles out in Kansas City, Kansas. It is a beautiful racetrack to drive around. Again, multiple lines available for you as a driver. And here are a few laps just to give you a kind of perspective of what you should do. So ride that apron there on the white line. You'll see a lot of drivers go below that, making 3, maybe 4 wide passes, and then boom, duck right into 4th gear, hug that white line. This track used to be top dependent way back in the iRacing service. Recent refreshes and dynamic track updates have allowed for that inside and middle to come in a lot stronger. So you'll see a lot more even spread between the drivers. You want to keep that right front under you the entire run. Back to 4th gear, shift up to 5th. As soon as you get off of that paint on the outside wall, cross the restart zone, get as low as you can in that start-finish line area to the grass, and then you can also take the top, try and shallow the entry a little bit, use the entry braking to arc this car into the corner, use the bubble of air on the outside wall to keep you alongside, plant the throttle, shift up the gear. We'll see a lot of drivers maybe struggle with that as well in the middle of the draft, and then again, just try to roll this outside lane the best that you can on that top level seam. We have seen a lot, Nate, that drivers do get over eager on the throttle. They end up smacking that outside wall rather considerably. They don't feel like they have enough space to be able to move out there, so that will be a topic of contention as the drivers step into this race tonight.
And you mentioned to me before we went on the air that top side's going to be pretty good for building momentum. And as we get off to the start of this race, momentum, I think, is probably going to come into play in a big way. The only double file restarts we get are right at the open. Other than that, we go single file the rest of the way through. In all the field completely bunched up. In theory, just this once, and starting on the front row, AJ Hyder leads the field to green alongside Justin Rott, who was eliminated last week in Dover. Row 2, James Bomar, Christopher Robinson, 2 guys that are going to try to fight not only to advance this time, but to get into the SAAC 6 next week. Stephen Maggio, last 1.5 mile winner, alongside points leader James Thurston in row 3. Row 4, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer and Cody Riveras. Jurg also trying to stave off elimination tonight. Then in row 5, Austin Duran and Connor Zola.
Back in 11th and 12th, you'll find a pair of drivers not in the Eliminator. Chase Donovan David starts from the 11th spot, and Michael Walls, his number 24 car, and himself eliminated from championship contention at the Monster Mile last week, looking to still end the season on a high note. Jason Ratchcock starts tonight from the inside of row 7. He'll have the 18 of Gabe Cazzola on the outside in 14th place. Brad Sawinski lines up his number 28 car on the inside of row 8 in the top 15. And an uncharacteristically deep start for Connor Trafari, the defending series champion, trying to go back-to-back, trying to win another race this season. He's back from 16th place at the start. Amir Bascom and his number 21 Chevrolet will pick up from 17th at the green flag. And just the driver we talked to not that long ago, Wyatt Roberts, is 18th at the green. He had a top 10 last week. He is underneath the cut line, staving off elimination if he can do so tonight. And another deep start For a top-seeded driver, Ollie Reeves is third in the standings, 59 above. He's 19th at the green flag to start, and Quincy Strawhacker rounds out the top 20.
Andretti Robinson fighting right on that cut line. He's got to come through the field as well. He's alongside Shockey Tarpley in row 11. Row 12, Jamie Wright, Nicholas Borowski, a pair of non-chase drivers. Row 13, Bristol winner Malachi Drake alongside Ellis Wells. In row 14, Fidel Fabian and Joaquin Stewart. Fabian just barely missed out on an Eliminator chase appearance back at Phoenix. Larry Miles, eliminated last week, starts alongside Declan George in row 15. That's the 30-car field for Kansas Speedway. 3 races to go in the SAAC Cup Series season. Take a look at that, Kenneth. 112, the track temperature. What's that going to do for these drivers?
Well, one thing we know for sure, Nate, it is going to make this track slick. It's going to be very loose with these next-gen cars, and of course you do have a lot of that underbody downforce. It's been a topic of conversation with this car ever since it was implemented into the sim, but we know this horsepower package and that low spoiler at the rear end can still snap sideways if you do snap on the throttle a little bit too early. So that will wear out the rear tires a lot. You got to be very patient on the throttle, especially in the middle of these grooves. One thing we also have to keep an eye on, Nate, are the different lines and how you can easily get unsettled. We've seen with drivers talking about the idea of aero griefing, when you pack air on the rear spoiler of the car in front of you and it gets them loose. Kansas is a pretty notorious track for that specific phenomenon when you pack everybody in these progressively banked corners. That's something we'll have to watch for over the night, but just the biggest key, keep those tires under you. Do not get too eager too early on, because then it's just going to be a big problem, compounding if we stay green.
The entire field forming back up behind the iRacing official pace car. AJ Hyder won on a mile and a half at Kentucky earlier this year. Also won the All-Star race at the 1 1/3 mile concrete track at Nashville. Justin Rott eliminated last week. Behind them, James Bomar and our Watkins Glen winner, Christopher Robinson. Last time we were at a mile and a half, it was Steven Maggio who scored his first win of the season. If he wants to do it, he's going to have to do it from 5th tonight. Then it's the points leader to his outside in 6th. Everybody 2 by 2. We're racing in the Heartland. We talked about the momentum. James Thurston wasting no time getting to the top of the track. He's already up to 3rd, using that momentum to roll the top. AJ Hyder led lap 1. Justin Rott trying to use that second lane from the outside wall to push forward. AJ Hyder going to get clear as they exit turn number 2. And they get nice and single file. Michael Walls up there into the 4th spot.
Yeah, great start for Michael Walls, stepping into the top 5, and that Bobby Boy Logic Chevrolet making some moves already early, but you did see James Thurston go up top, and part of that was by design. It was to get out of the dirty air, compounding by all those cars at the bottom of the racetrack, so it was kind of a strategic decision. Make the move up high, gain the momentum from that, and then just clear yourself for the rest of it all. Pretty smart decision by Thurston, who has now migrated to the bottom because he has enabled himself to be single file in the top 3. So a really good drive from now the 4-time winner this season, Nate, after a big statement win on old tires at Dover last week. A lot of drivers thought they could get the best of him on the fresher tires, but with all those yellows late, helped that 82 car pull away, and driver on top of the SAAC world right now. 3 wide behind them, though.
Yeah, lots of racing back there. Michael Wall starting to fall behind just a little bit, missed the bottom, got into the 12 a little bit. Now he's under fire from Steven Maggio in the 51. Up top, James Bomar works to the outside of Christopher Robinson, trying to settle back into a top 5 spot in this race. Bomar spent much of the season battling James Thurston up at the top of the points pile. It's been the battle of the Jameses all season long, and he's sporting that Kyle Busch tribute paint scheme, the M&M's Caramel car that he ran for much of the 2017 season. He's got a twin further back in the field as well, Gabe Cazzola donning those same colors a little bit deeper in the mid-pack.
You see a lot of drivers, of course, carrying on the spirit of honoring Kyle Busch, the late Kyle Busch, and James, ever since the Watkins Glen race, where basically everyone in the field had put out their best Kyle Busch throwbacks, some of them are continuing with that trend. You can see on the front of the hood of James Thurston's Toyota that 8 Kyle Busch decal, of course in honor of the late 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. And what a drive by Bomar to get to the inside. You know, we've seen a lot of drivers be patient early on. Seems like Bomar is here to waste no time on these mile-and-a-halves. Very good at this type of track. Average finish of just 3rd place in the 3 mile-and-a-half races we've had this season.
He's been truly phenomenal, and I think back to that Kentucky race where he and A.J. Hyder kind of split reps, dominating that one before the field flip later on. Justin Rott taken to the top spot. He got around the race leader, A.J. Hyder, and now he's going to get to the bottom of the racetrack, lead in this field, and going to try to drive away. We go on board with James Thurston as he peeks inside of the other James Bomar. We get a good look at that Kyle Busch tribute decal, a legend we lost just 3 weeks ago, and we continue to pay tribute to the late Rowdy here on lap 8. This track at Kansas, one that it took Kyle Busch a while to figure out. It wasn't until 2016 that he finally got that elusive first win at the track, and after that it seemed like he was always up front every single time we came to Kansas Speedway. Remember in 2021, the race at Kansas was called the Bushy McBush race. Remember that, Kenneth?
I do remember that. I mean, that was back in the COVID
Of course it was
era.
Kyle Busch that went and won it.
Yeah, but it had to be scripted, right? I mean, that was perfect storybook for a driver named Bush to go win the Bushy McBush race. And man,
on his birthday, no less.
Yeah, 2020 was a fever dream, man. I'll tell you, that was something hilarious. NASCAR was trying a bunch of new things. The Bushy McBush race, I believe, was a fan contest by the Bush Company to get the fans involved with naming the sponsor for the race because Bush was all in on it. Bush also, remember those meme Kevin Harvick schemes that he ran a few years back? I mean, they were all in on stuff like that.
The Millennial car, the Gen X car. I'd like to see Ross Chastain run a Gen Z car one of these days. That would be something. That'd be a sight to behold if Busch were to go back to that. And remember 2019, I think it was the Dover race, Kevin Harvick's Busch car. Instead of saying Busch, it said Harvick on it.
Yep.
It looked like one of those beer-sponsored cars that you'd see in the toy aisle at Walmart or Target, or one that you'd see on a video game because they couldn't put those sponsors on products for kids.
I'll tell you, that's exactly what those cars look like in NASCAR 25 right now, just because they can't. They have that everybody ESRB rating. They cannot have alcohol in their sponsorship. So, yeah, exactly like that. As we watch Maggio try to get around James Bomar. It's been really impressive, Nate, to see what Steven Maggio has done as of late. Obviously, Watkins Glen was a very frustrating race for him and James Thurston sort of getting up in arms about who deserved to drive each other how, especially in those final laps, and basically opened the door for Christopher Robinson to get his first career SAAC win. But he's been on a trend since the drop of the green flag, and then the checkered, where he started 26 at Las Vegas and ended up winning his first race in just a long while since his championship season, back in season number 3. And ever since, 3 straight top 5 finishes, including 3rd last week at Dover, he has been very successful when it's mattered the most, and one of the former champions of this series, already locking in a few more spots into the top 5 for the first time tonight.
And when you think about Steven Maggio, it isn't always the wins, but more so the consistency. Even look at last year's campaign as he brushes that outside wall just a little bit there. Like you mentioned, we'd see it happen pre-race, Kenneth. Even last season, did not win a race in the SAAC Cup Series, but despite all that, was actually the points leader. Coming into the championship finale, he forfeited his spot in the SAAC 6 because he was on vacation overseas on the day of the championship, something that he knew was going to happen for much of that season and had resigned himself to. But nonetheless, he had a tremendous season a year ago, and despite having to have a bit of an uphill climb here in Season 5, he is really putting in the work on this back end.
Yeah, he's done a great job to move on through. And I remember back at 4Wide Media Day when he told me about his anticipating thoughts for the 4Wide Championship a few months ago. He also told me around that time that SAAC was the most competitive league he's ever run in because he has not been able to win as often. He felt that 4Wide was a little bit of an easier league to manage because he could go out and dominate races week after week. However, SAAC is very different. He told me that the competition is so much tougher in this series with the top level drivers that are always up front and are always leading laps, always in contention for wins. So it's really fun to see that kind of dichotomy in different leagues and how drivers anticipate them. But Maggio has been able to turn up his intensity when it matters a lot more, and now it's paying off in his favor, especially in a moment like this where he does need all those points to be able to just move smoothly through the final 2 rounds and move on to Homestead.
You hear a lot of drivers echo that same idea that SAAC is one of the more difficult leagues that they race in as far as the caliber of driver in this series. I mean, you look around, guys like Justin Rott, who's leading right now, we see him contend for championships and other leagues on this network. He was eliminated. Michael Walls just won the 4Wide Racing Championship, was also eliminated at Dover a week ago. That's the level of competition. Guys who contend for titles struggling to make it out of the first round of the chase as we see AJ Hyder dive right back inside of Justin Rott looking for the race lead. Rott caught the wall just a little bit. Rott took that top spot earlier from AJ. And now AJ wants it back on lap 18.
And that was a great entry into turns 1 and 2 for AJ Hyder to set up that attempted pass at the exit of turn 4, just hugging that white line. And again, we've gone 18 laps green. I mentioned hot track temperature means the rear tires start to go away, and if you run that middle, even then you ride the seam, that first black line painted on the bottom end of the racetrack that's above the white line, you could easily get those left side tires to rotate a lot more than you anticipate. And then when that happens on a hot track surface with other cars trying to nail some air on the rear spoiler, this car is going to feel sideways. So you want to be a little more careful on applying the throttle, and that's a great thing that AJ Hyder was able to do. Just rotating nicely, not being afraid to just be on the white line and just carry his line through, and a great defensive job here to retake the lead.
Use that top side to build the momentum down the back straightaway and clear the 76 of Justin Rott once again. Coming through to lap 20, the fuel window tonight, about 45 laps. And if my math is correct, in a 134-lap race, you should just be able to do this on 2 stops, Kenneth. Do you think the tires are going to prevent these drivers from doing it? Or if this race goes green, we're only seeing them come by twice?
I think we'll probably see them come by twice, just in the trend that we've seen so far. And obviously with the way the field has looked over the first 20 laps under green, they've separated quite a bit. We're not having a pack race anymore. We're seeing the top 5 drivers really step out in front. Look at this crossover from Austin Doran on Andretti Robinson. This is a driver that needs points, by the way. So if we do end up seeing green, I would imagine the rest of the field to go on too. However, if I'm looking at a guy like Austin Doran who needs a little bit of a heave to move on in the next round at Martinsville, he'll do something different, whether it's staying out as long as possible for a yellow, maybe short pitting by a large margin just to throw the field off their game. But a good battle we're watching here for 9th regardless.
We've seen this 52 car get up the racetrack trying to build the momentum. Just a couple laps ago, he was on the boards. There was but a pixel between his car and the outside wall as he drops to the inside of the 45 of Andretti Robinson. And you see the font on that 52 as well. Typically, he's running the classic Richard Childress Racing font. Now he's sporting the same font that Joe Gibbs Racing used for Kyle Busch's 18. Oh, we got a spinner in the back of the field. It's the 25 of Shockey Tarpley sliding down the backstretch off the racing surface. No caution yet. We'll see if iRacing throws one as he blends back onto the racing surface. We are still green.
Yeah, that was a spin under the racing line. So for iRacing Race Control, they don't throw yellows when you're under that white line on the surface. And there are some tracks where it's a bit different, but at Kansas, all of that asphalt's at the bottom of the speedway. So if you do end up in a spin like we saw with Tarpley there, did a great job to keep the car locked up, didn't get back into traffic, didn't hit the inside wall. Just did a nice job evading any potential further trouble. But yeah, that's going to be a dagger for him, not seeing that yellow flag come out as the prayer for the 25 car. But just one of those things with iRacing. You stay way off the racing line, you're in trouble. Race Control will not bring the field to a halt, especially if it's just one car. Watch the battle for 15th place. Jason Ratchcock and Amir Bascom running 14th and 15th right now. Again, two non-eliminator chase drivers, and a bulk of them here in this top 15. But as we watch drivers like Austin Duran make his way up to the front, we've also noted drivers like Connor Trafari, relatively deep start for the North Carolina driver and the defending series champion, someone who has been kind of on a rocky way, Nate, especially after the beginning of the season where he consistently put up enough performances to be at the top of the points. His Duran is loose again off turn 2, and Robinson sneaks to the inside. But Trafari has kind of been back and forth, got the win at Phoenix, a very big breakthrough for the 9 car, and now just trying to hold on to the top 6 and put himself right back in the place he was last season to go back-to-back in the SAAC Cup Series.
And with this format, it's not a traditional playoff format where it's everyone gets eliminated and the highest finisher by default in the championship race is the champion. But because it's triple points in the championship races, now Juergensmeyer gets way loose, pulling all the way down on the back straightaway. We've seen a lot of that coming out of turn 2. But this eliminator chase format, when you get to the SAAC 6, that's a triple points race. And so oftentimes that will just end up being the highest finisher becomes the champion. It's what we saw last year as everybody was so close on points. And when you get awarded triple, each of those spots up in the front becomes worth more than the typical 5 points. It becomes worth 15, more than that, as those spots get worth more points as you go up the grid. So you win that championship race, you're looking at the biggest points day conceivable, getting almost 300 points from winning the final race of the season.
And that, of course, gives the advantage for the rest of the 5 that are behind the points leader, right? Because they can be kind of as close as they possibly can. And even if at a first glance it looks like a long shot, because they've added that triple points format, you have more of a chance than you really think so. However, it is going back to that idea, right, Nate, of you still want to be close. You don't want to let that points leader pull away to such a monumental gap in these eliminator chase races, because that only gives them a further buffer and a safety net to work forward with at Homestead of Miami. So you do want to make it a little bit closer, even if it's by a little bit and a few points race after race. If you can do that, then that does give you an ample shot at the championship at Homestead, but also makes that leader feel a little bit more pressure.
And that buffer coming into this race, James Thurston leads James Bomar by 31 points, but then it's another 52 points that separate Bomar from third place Ollie Reeves. And again, like you mentioned, those points not insurmountable when you get to the SAAC 6 and to a triple point situation, but it is very difficult still to gain those, because anyone in the SAAC 6 is a guy that's going to be capable of winning that championship race regardless. Take a look at Ollie Reeves. He's pretty deep in the field, fighting alongside Malachi Drake, and you see right there near the 25 who we just saw spinning down the back straightaway.
And it has been a tough start for the 31 of Ollie Reeves. We've talked about his struggles mid-season, kind of going through a slump after winning the first few races of the campaign and basically being the man on fire in the SAAC Cup Series, but heading into this race 59 clear of the top 3. He's been able to find his mojo a little bit. He's had some good finishes, had some good races, but tonight, we saw drivers like Connor Trafari qualify back here, and the same for the 31 of Reeves. He just has not been able to find that outright pace. And Kansas is such a unique racetrack in that it feels almost like every other cookie cutter mile-and-a-half oval that you race on the sim, but it just feels really different. And for those who are really good here, they can extend their advantage. But for drivers that struggle with this track, I know I've struggled with this track whenever I race it in officials. It's not fun when you're trying to wrangle this car and figure out the right line and the right amount of pace to be in competition with the rest of the front of the field. And for now, Ollie just hasn't found it. But again, good note about 32 laps running green. We're entering green flag pit stop strategy. You make that first pit stop, you make those adjustments to make the car a little bit faster from the driving perspective.
Yeah, presumably about 12, 13 laps away from seeing drivers bring it down pit road for the first time. We go on board for the back of James Thurston's car, getting pushed by Steven Maggio as they go off into turn number 1. And you see the two very different lines that drivers will run. Thurston painting the white line on the bottom, Maggio painting the outside wall and getting a handful of it as he exits turn 2, but he stays in the gas and throttles right back up to the rear bumper of the 82. That's the momentum you talked about, Kenneth, and you need to get out of the way of the car in front of you, out of the wake of the dirty air when you're in the corner, but you want to be right up behind him on the straightaways and get all that draft.
Yeah, before in the next-gen era, tracks like these, you always wanted to use the outside as that momentum gainer, right? You could be behind a car, but as long as you ran the outside, you would just get a big run on the straightaways, and then you would just set up your pass and go right back to the bottom as soon as you got around them, or if they ended up getting right back around you, and you had to reset yourself and get back into rhythm. But here you have the mix of both. So you have the rubbered-in track surface at the bottom, then you have all that dirty air, and then you have the momentum you can gain from the top. So you do see drivers now experiment more with different lanes just to play with that idea of momentum and also gaining clean air. And that was a perfect example with what you saw with Steven Maggio. And again, back at the top of the speedway just to build up a run on the straightaway to be able to get within at least half a second of Thurston and then start to pile on that pressure a little more. But you can tell cars getting loose, getting very tough to manage the tires underneath at this juncture of the green flag run.
We already saw earlier on in this race so many cars kind of dart down to the bottom of the racetrack coming out of turn 2 because the rear tires get picked up, and we're seeing AJ Hyder stretch his legs now. Just a couple laps ago, the 76 was all over the rear bumper of the 44. Now the gap has extended, and these two have a sizable gap really to the rest of the field. Rott, the only driver within a second of our race leader.
Yeah, all of them setting around 31.6s, but again, the clean air is so important, and even for a driver like Justin Rott, yeah, he's in the dirty air of the leader, but he's got a lot more space between himself and AJ Hyder than James Bomar does to the 76, so then that enables that 76 to just have a little bit more rotation through the corner and just a little bit more of that clean air as a result. So it helps him stabilize in his rhythm. He's had a fast car tonight, so now it's just about maintaining your muscle memory here at Kansas, and then, of course, thinking about what strategy could bring up for you. And I'm just really curious about what the drivers, especially in the mid-pack, and those Eliminator Chase cut line bubble drivers are going to do, whether that's any different call. And I think we may have just had our first call on the racetrack. Christopher Robinson, no, there's trouble. Turn 3.
Christopher Robinson slow on the apron. Not sure what might have happened to this 12 car, but he's bringing it down pit road here on lap 38. And I don't believe that this is a scheduled pit stop.
Didn't look like it was.
Take a look at what happened.
These are the brothers, by the way, Nate, that are in contention, trying to stay alive in the bubble for the Eliminator Chase. Oh, and the car just got loose. I mean, we saw that with a bunch of other drivers tonight, but they were able to save it. Looks like Robinson was, but he bled off so much speed. That's going to lose him a ton of points. And he did come down pit road. He will fall a lap down. So now he's forced into a short pit strategy at this point.
And that short pit strategy is going to be, he's been forced into, is going to be so interesting because now he has 95 laps to run the rest of this race on. 95 divided by 45, which is our fuel window, is a little more than 2. Meaning he's going to have to stretch his fuel a little bit longer than we expect drivers to be able to go if he wants to make it to the end of this race. He's going to be close for that 12 car.
Yeah, he's going to definitely need a yellow if he wants to be right back on track with the rest of the field. And we noted the 5 extra tire sets that the drivers have at the racetrack. I mean, that is plenty enough to make it to the end, but you think about it, if you do run those 2 green flag stops, and then if there's a possibility of overtime, you're using more sets than you already think you are at that point. It feels like a lot until you start using them, and then it starts to feel a little more finite, and you have to manage your resources a little more. So it's just a tough break there for Robinson. Already a lap down in 26th, but the good news is if a yellow does fly, he'll get that lucky dog, assuming nobody else falls a lap shy.
He came into this race 44 points north of the cut line. And another thing to note with this Eliminator Chase format, the worst race, your worst points total in the Eliminator Chase is only worth a quarter of what it would normally be. And so, while some drivers might think, oh, okay, that's a drop race on face value, it really kind of multiplies the damage that a poor finish would do because you're getting even less points than you already would have. So this would be a disastrous finish for the 12 car. You get even less points than expected.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough break. But again, long race to go. There's still so much of this story to be written, so it's not really over for Christopher Robinson, although right now it's going to feel like the world is ending. As a driver, you know you got trapped into a strategy you don't really want to execute because of everything going on. But at least the good news is that he can be able to just try and work himself back and hope for a yellow flag to come out right now. And it's just going to be a matter of staying alive because we've got a 43 laps green, and with the way the field looks right now, chances are you may see a yellow come out for a single car spin rather than a multi-car incident.
Yeah, that's what I think will be the most likely occurrence as well, but the danger spot we've seen is at a turn 2, and that gets you right to an area where there's not going to be a caution for a spin, as we see Connor Trafari, the first to blink, coming to pit road, lap 43.
And here he goes. Again, he was in mid-pack, falling to the top 16. He had good pace to start, but he's picked up left front damage, Nate, so a lot of that aerodynamic performance has kind of gone away over the course of the run. And so I kind of like this call. As a driver that's higher up in points, you can kind of take this gamble a little more, feel a little more secure in pitting a little bit earlier. Nice braking marker into the spot there. And that should be the calling card for everyone else to start at least thinking about where pit road could offer them. But that is the earliest call we're seeing by any of the Eliminator chase drivers. And here comes Doron.
Another one in. Another one of these Eliminator chase drivers that's facing elimination at 52. And he's had a great second half to the season. Remember, he was 27th in points by the time we got to the Mid-Season Madness tournament. And he has been on quite the charge. It was a lot of effort for him to even make it to the Eliminator chase. Has to back up in his stall a little bit, missed his braking marker. That'll hurt him on the long run. But for him to be in the situation he's in, just 11 points out of the round of 9 in this Eliminator chase, it's been a tremendous second half. And here comes the house on lap 46. Hyder, Rott, Bomar, Walls, all coming down pit road.
Yeah, to that point on Doron, 5 of the last 6 races, all of them have been top 10s, and a huge 6th place run at Dover last week. That is really what cemented his life to be still alive here at this Eliminator chase. So this is going to be interesting here, seeing the top 4 at least come in on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. So all of them coming together will mean one thing. They can try and beat each other right here and try to get around, and that's going to be a great spot for Rott and for Bomar. They did not flinch on their pit stop, so they can be right in the striking distance with a level tire difference as here comes Maggio and Robinson. And I'm going to really be curious about this call because they have that extra 1 lap they can play with, and Maggio's been one of the best cars all night long.
We'll see. They're going to have slightly fresher tire. Maggio missed his box. You saw him have to back up much more significantly than we saw Duran have to earlier. James Thurston in on lap 47. Cody Rivera, Samir Bascombe joining in as well. Brad Sawinski. It's a busy pit road. We're seeing Fidel Fabian, Malachi Drake, Wyatt Roberts, Donovan David trying to stretch it out. And this is really where I thought coming into this race, Kenneth, we would see strategy come in less in short pitting and undercutting, but more so the overcut, as we see James Thurston phased inside of that 51. 51 is not
Were
sure.
there any penalties involved here? These are long pit stops in the same box. Maggio's been in his stall for at least over a minute, so that was a pit road speeding penalty on top of overshooting the box. A huge detriment to the 51's momentum tonight, and the same could be said for the points leader. Long stop, over a minute that he's on pit lane.
Well, and it looks to me, he was stopped in the same exact box as that 51, and you're seeing the pit sign, and he just blinked out of the race, it looked like.
I don't know what happened there to Thurston. I was going to give the grace, as Fidel Fabian overshoots his pit box as well. I was going to give a bit of grace there to Thurston if maybe the same pit stop was there, but I mean, we only have 29 cars. This track has more than enough pit stalls to accommodate all the cars that are registered in this race. What a bizarre scenario we just had, Nate. A driver with a pit road speeding penalty, and then one of the best cars of the night, and the points leader is out at lap 50.
That's a huge shakeup to the overall standings of the Eliminator chase. Because remember, the points do carry over between rounds. He doesn't get a reset to go and get his lead back going into the next round. He's going to have to stay with the results of this race. And we mentioned those quarter points. He's going to get next to nothing as a result for this race.
And that is going to be a tough break. And again, we talk about that buffer that a points leader can have when they have consecutive good weeks in the Eliminator chase, and you have a bad week like this, and it drops you a ton with all the points that are on the line when they're more than just a normal race weekend in the SAAC Cup Series virtually. And that's going to be a huge shunt to James Thurston's run at the championship. It's not going to take him out by any means, but it is definitely going to be a bump in the confidence for him, and does give the moment for James Bomar, AJ Hyder, and the rest of the drivers behind him on points to make all of that gap up in just a few hours.
And Kenneth, going back to Steven, a new build on iRacing this week changed the way that pit road speeding penalties work. You think that might have had anything to do with it?
I think it does. I mean, it gives the drivers a double-edged sword, right? Because now pit road speed used to be in whole numbers. Now that when you come in on pit road, the newest update in the UI that you see on the front end of your screen, it gives you the speed plus the decibels. So it gives you to the minute detail what speed you're going on the track, whether you're just a tad bit over, a tad bit under. You can be in between miles an hour with the decimals. So instead of seeing, let's say 43 miles an hour, you would see 43.2, maybe up to 43.5. And that could also change the driver in a good way. Caution flag does come out, though, first time tonight.
It's Jason Rajcock around in turn 4, stopped perpendicular on the racetrack, and after this last set of pit stops and all the chaos we saw, it'll give us a good chance to reset. And especially for Steven Maggio, it's going to give him a chance to get back on the lead lap. I believe he was the first car 1 lap down. Take a look at what happened with this 71. Racing with the 42 of Wyatt Roberts.
Exactly what I
And
mentioned on the pace lap.
Oh, Connor Zola gets in there.
And nowhere for him to go. But what I mentioned there, the packing air on the rear spoiler, especially when you're entering that corner. And you're downshifting here at Kansas. When you're on the brakes, you're in the corner. Again, these drivers are mostly fresh tires, but still, you want to bump it down to 4th gear. Especially here with Roberts, he's the traffic behind, he's putting the pressure, he's trying to get around. You'll see right here, car lays off the throttle, but the weight shifts. He doesn't go down a gear, he stays in 5th, but the car still lightens up on entry as the progressive banking kicks in, and that is more than enough on this car to get you unsettled. And I mean, what have we harped on all season, Nate? This car is hard to save, so it was a hard car to save for Rajcock, and unfortunate that it was the additional damage there with Connor Zola getting into him.
The extra traffic closing in right behind the spin as we see Justin Rott, the first car collected behind the iRacing official pace car, Steven Maggio coming down pit road. AJ Hyder decided he wants to go put 4 fresh tires on it, or at least 2. James Bomar the same.
Yeah, 2-tire call for several of these heavy hitters in the field. Most importantly, Connor Trafari came on at pit road, 9.4 second stop. Austin Duran, when we talk about drivers that need good points, Duran can use that to his advantage here. Now that he can rotate that car a little bit better. I was a bit surprised, Nate, to see these drivers come in because it wasn't really that much time they put in on the track after they came in the first time. But I think fresher tires is better than just not having any tires on the racetrack and just staying out with what you have right now. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they catch up to the field. But back to the point that I made about Maggio, with the miles per hour there, it's a positive sign because you can get right to the specific decimal that you are at the limit or maybe a little bit over the limit without being docked for speeding. Then the problem is because you're so focused on that, you could be over by at least 1/10 of a mile an hour, and then that will be what gives you the black flag. And that might exactly be the scenario that happened with Steven Maggio. He just tried to hit a certain number, but it happened to be over pit road speeding limits, so it gave him the black flag. And worst thing about it for Maggio, he is not the first car lap down, so he's going to have to fight for the lucky dog here with Jamie Wright for 23rd when we go back green.
There you go. So he's going to be hoping to see another yellow flag fly in this race. Looking toward the front of the field, Justin Rott stayed out, Brad Sawinski, Larry Miles, but it is not an extended cast of drivers that stayed out. Just the top 5 right there. You see it, Rott, Sawinski, Miles, Drake, Fabian staying out before we get to AJ Hyder, who took 2 fresh tires. We know the speed in this 76 car. He'll have the clean air, but what do you make of the rest of this group?
I just make of it they're going to be fighting for their lives. I mean, they're just trying to shake things up. They're on older tires, you know, especially Rott and Miles on the oldest set of tires. It's not going to be the biggest downfall, but again, they've got a hounding of cars that are right behind them on a single file restart.
Donovan David also stayed out. He's 6th. into the restart zone. Justin Rott grabs the pedal on the right-hand side. We're back to racing in Kansas. Hyder wasting no time working to the inside of the 94. This restart's going to give him a chance to get as many spots as possible, put those new tires to work. Donovan David quickly falling through. Here comes Connor Trafari. Thought he might have gone 3 wide. Instead pushes Andretti Robinson into the corner. And you'll see this is the part of the track where we'll see those tires go to work in the corner. As Hyder now going to work on Fidel Fabian. James Bomar trying to follow him through. And Kenneth working through slower traffic. We see leaders get caught out by like this in these situations all the time. For Bomar, this is an opportunity to pounce, and we're going to see him get to the inside of the 44, dives all the way inside 3 wide on Fidel Fabian.
You saw Hyder there. He had to back out of the throttle on exit of turn 2. He had a great run on Fabian, but he just overcooked the entry to the corner. Oh, and Bomar gets tapped at the exit of turn 4, slides through the grass, and he saves it. Continues to keep the Camry straight. We will stay green. What a save from Bomar.
Kept his foot in it, drove it all the way through the grass. He lost a lot of track position because of it, however. They got really tight there on the exit of turn 4, and that's another one of our top points leaders having a little bit of a curveball thrown their way at the midway point of this race. Rott trying to check out as AJ Hyder stays bogged down in a little bit of traffic.
And what a save by Bomar. But that is going to eliminate some of that competition that was around AJ Hyder. But like you mentioned, getting around some of that traffic that's in front, we know with this next-gen car, the tires don't wear that much. So if you do stay out on a call like this, even by a few laps, you can hold your own for track position. James Thurston got the win at Dover by doing exactly that, staying out just for the track position alone and just holding the rest of the field off with a defensive air wall. And that's what's happening here. Larry Miles in 5th. Or in 4th rather, just staying in front. He's taking the line that Hyder wants, and that's allowing drivers like Robinson and even old tire Fidel Fabian to get back around and try and make a move. 4-car breakaway for 4th.
And Andretti Robinson came in 6 up on the cut line. Needs a run like this. This caution fell at a great time for him. He's already got a fast race car. As we go on board with Fidel Fabian behind this melee, Larry Miles is making that number 30 so wide, keeping the 44 in his mirror. Hyder decides he's going to go to the top again. Everyone else following in line. But where will the space come for this 44? Trying to work back to the front of this field as he sees Justin Rott getting smaller and smaller outside the front windshield.
You can tell Hyder is also pushing this issue, Nate. I mean, he doesn't want to stay behind Larry Miles too long. Obviously, he knows the car he has. He knows he can take the race lead and pull away in an instant. But again, the longer he stays behind this traffic of Larry Miles and all these cars that stayed out on old tires, the harder it's going to be eventually to catch up to Justin Rott. Look how far of a gap that is already between the leader in 4th place coming back to turn 3. That is a long walk that Hyder has to accomplish. Really more of an uphill climb at this juncture now because of that distance, which basically forces this 44 car to push harder each lap. And with every pushing lap, he's wasting more tire and eventually will equalize out to the rest of the field. So he's got to be at the same time patient, but then aggressive in the same breath. That's really hard to put together. Only the best drivers can achieve that level of balance. Hyder's trying to find that right now as he chases for 3rd place.
And Malachi Drake's not going to be an easy pass either. Neither will Brad Sawinski, as we see Andretti Robinson is still having trouble with the 30 of Larry Miles. But this is the sweet spot for Hyder. He got to the outside of the 30 off of turn 4, does the same thing to the 90, and wastes no time getting by Malachi Drake now. That's been his bread and butter, to make passes through this traffic. Getting up north in turns 3 and 4, and riding the wave of momentum into the tri-oval. Hyder up to 3rd.
He's been one of the best mile-and-a-half drivers this season, Nate. Of course, we've only had 3 going into this race from Kansas in this Eliminator chase format. But an average start of 1.6, an average finish of just under 3rd place, especially with the win at Kentucky that he had to deal with holding off traffic and holding off a hard-charging Gabriel Dehari. I mean, Hyder's been one of the best cars on this type of track, put him, James Bomar, and even a bit of Steven Maggio in the same breath of those three who, as of late on those tracks, have stepped up to the challenge and have been outright the best. 117 combined total laps led before this race, and he built that up already in the first stint. Obviously not surprised to see this composed number 44 work his way up to the front. Still a long way to go, though, if he wants to get back to the lead.
He's been so fast on all these tracks all season long. Now again, a lot of ground to make up. If he wants to catch that 76 to Justin Rotten, he's got to go through Brad Sawinski first. Here's Amir Bascombe, diving it to the inside of Austin Duran. Trying to work through some of this traffic. Oh, he gets turned into the outside wall by the 52. It was a big squeeze with the 55 of Fabian as well, and the 21 gets the worst of it. We got our second caution.
You know, I'm glad I held my tongue there, Nate. I was about to call this the best-looking paint scheme, and that would have been probably the worst case of commentators' jinx in that split second. But for Bascombe, lots of progression there, soiled, and tough scenario for Austin Duran. I mean, he got a piece of that. Not sure if there was damage on the 52 there off of turn 4. I mean, this is the struggle of being in the trenches in mid-pack. You try to push up, you try to bring dirty air, you think you're clear, and then you're not. And that's what Bascombe thought he was. He thought he could just push Duran in the background, but Duran stayed there on the top shelf. It was enough to make that contact, and around the 21 went.
This caution coming all about 10 or so laps removed from the most recent one. That's the onboard with Austin Duran. See the 21 just come up right in front of him. He says, hey, I'm here. I'm keeping my nose there. Makes the strategy a lot more interesting. Everybody outside of Larry Miles coming down pit road on this one.
Well, this is going to be fun
Maggio
here
stays
because
out.
we put in a lot of those laps, Nate, and for Hyder and a bunch of those others behind him in the rearview mirror, remember they did come down pit road, but they came in for 2 fresh tires. So they do have 2 more left side tires that are available on their set, or at least one set of left side tires than they would the rest of 4. But I wonder if 4 tires is going to be the key here, especially if it's going to save time. Well, Hyder just lost a lot of that overshooting his pit box. But we'll just see where they come out.
Hyder easily wins the race off pit road. Trafari and Juergensmeyer as well jump to the top 3. Rott falls to 4th. To give the top spot to driver 44. Back out in front in the Heartland, and while we've got a moment, why don't we go ahead and talk to the driver of the Pepsi Zero Sugar Chevrolet, AJ Hyder. Nate and Kenneth up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. Got you guys.
All right, back out in front. You got the clean air to your advantage. It took you a while to get through some of those cars that stayed out last time. How much is that dirty air coming into play today?
Yeah, it's definitely a factor like it is at most of the mile and a half, but we're not going to have the clean air right here. We got about 3 guys here that stayed out, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to try to get by these guys, but I think if we get by them through the first couple laps, I think we got a real shot at this.
You ran away for a lot of that first stint. And we saw you battle and lose the lead to Rott and then get it back. What did you see on that first full tire run?
It's very tight for sure. It doesn't get loose at all. It's just going to be all about managing the right front here. I think if we can do that, we have a real shot at winning today.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Winner of the race off pit road, AJ Hyder, sits 4th behind Larry Miles, who stayed out again, Nicholas Borowski, and Shockey Tarpley, who we saw spinning earlier on in this race. A little more slow traffic to work through, just based on tire deficit. Larry Miles still only been to pit road once in this race. Sitting pretty on tire sets, sitting pretty in the clean air. Late in this field, back to the green flag in the Heartland. and checks him up nicely on the restart as well. Gets clear by 3 or 4 car lengths by the time they get off to turn 1. And it is chaos further back, right to the outside of Juergensmeyer. Tarpley outside of Borowski. And Borowski slipping big time. Hyder and Trafari working right to the outside of that 23 car. Hyder nailing this restart, already making quick work of the first guy, trying to get up to the inside of Tarpley as well. He's going to get there now.
Yeah, this is going to be an easier journey through the field for sure for AJ Hyder, but look who he has in the rearview mirror. For the first time tonight in the top 5, Connor Trafari, I mean, he's been on the back foot since the drop of the green, had a poor qualifying effort, left front damage, was chasing in the top 16 just to even stand out amongst the group. All of a sudden, track position and a strategy call has given this Uprise Motorsports Chevrolet a chance at a top 3 and some good points out of America's Heartland. And by the way, 2 of the top 3 running second and third, teammates at Uprise Motorsports, so they could help each other as they try to get around Larry Miles for the top spot.
Hyder already closed right up to the rear of that 30 car, but we saw how difficult he was to pass. It's not going to matter this time. Hyder blows his doors off in turn 2. He said, I saw all your moves last time I tried to get by you. Not happening this time, buddy. To the point goes the 44.
What a drive. I mean, just using the fresh tires to his advantage. Did a great job to put on that pressure, use the momentum to his advantage, and then just slid up in front off of turn 2, which has been a trouble spot all night long. They're 3 wide behind. Larry Miles is in the sucker hole trying to survive back to turn 1.
Yeah, those old tires doing him no favors. He's dropped the anchor, falling now behind the 25 as well. One of the cars that stayed out there with him. And getting beaten up on as well. Austin Durant got to the door panel a little bit.
Well, I know Austin is trying to be a little aggressive here, Dave, but I don't know if he wants to be too aggressive. He was just involved in that situation with Amir Bascombe. Last thing he wants to be is in the outside wall or the inside wall and being involved in a crash when he needs the points to stay alive. This is the elimination night, so no other chances. Oh, he gets a tap from Brad Sawinski, saving in 1 and 2, trying to catch the Chevrolet, and he does, but there's more trouble. Reeves, and others involved.
2 of the contenders further up the points board involved in this one, the 31, the 36. We saw the 52. Shades of Kyle Busch on the apron trying to get the car righted. Doesn't look like any of the drivers involved have very major damage, at least cosmetically. But this is an accident that started in turn 1 and ended on the backstretch. And really, it started in the trial. I thought we were about to see the 49 and 25 recreate the accident that we just saw to bring out the most recent caution. Instead, we get to turn 1 and contact between the 28 and 56 sends Durant sideways. Look at how long he's drifting this car through the corner. And then everybody stacks up. Borowski gets into Reeves, who goes sideways, hits the 36 of Riveras. And it's on from there. We'll see just how bad any of these cars are wounded.
Of course, you see what's going on in front with Austin Durant sideways. Everyone's checking up here, but there's contact right there. Borowski gets right into the back bumper of Ollie Reeves. Bit of a difference on speed, and then Riveras gets tagged. Robinson, who's had a poor night, also gets a tap in this as well. And you'll probably get a better perspective from the onboard look of Ollie Reeves, just with the way he got hit entering that corner. He looked like he just about had it protected to get away from the spinning car of Durant. But look at that black Toyota Camry that's right in the rearview mirror. He'll cut down low, then they'll start slowing down. Watch this. There's contact right there. Reeves hits the brakes and the binders a little more than Borowski does, and that is more than enough to unsettle the pace, take the weight off of the underneath part of the race car, and got him sideways, and it's just basically collateral damage from there. Those are at least 4 Eliminator chase drivers, Nate, that got at least a piece of damage in all of that. So Kansas has not been kind to a bulk of the championship running field.
And you'd think that for a cookie-cutter racetrack, that's not quite what we would see, especially when you look at Martinsville next week. I think a lot of drivers thought, hey, Kansas is, not the championship. It's not Martinsville, so this might be the least chaos we'll see. It's been a chaotic last 20 or so laps of this race, 57 laps to go. I mean, by the time we go back green, we're going to be 10 laps away from the fuel window reaching to the end of the race.
Yeah, thankfully I'm not
middle
behind
portion.
the wheel, Nate, of any of these cars, because this is just, it's been difficult for sure. I mean, there's not much damage to a bulk of the field, but all that track position has been so hard to come by that you just have to push the car. You have no other choice.
And that's really what the damage has been, is the loss of track position, because it's so tough to work your way through the field. Steven Maggio had that penalty with this rash of cautions, got back on the lead lap, and has been able to climb to 13th by now. But he still has his work cut out for him. That's another byproduct of having single file restarts, is you don't have the opportunity to gang up on everybody in turns 1 and 2 off of the restarts like you would in a double file restart. So you get a little more aggressive as the cars are close together, and once it strings out, it is so hard to pass.
Yeah, that's been the common reception from the driver base this season, is that single file restarts have made passing on the restarts incredibly difficult. Just because you get a bad start, you know, there are cars around you, and there will be changes for sure, but it's very difficult. We'll see what Hyder can do here to hold the field off on the restart.
He's going to find the restart zone and find the gas pedal, driving away from Justin Rod, who did not get a great restart. Trifari looking to his inside, right behind him, leaning on his quarter panel as they head off towards turn number 1. AJ Hyder loves the look of that, getting away, and Trifari gets all the way down to the apron. Rot racing him real hard. He's not in the chase anymore, but he doesn't care. He is all out trying to get this win in the SAAC Cup Series.
That was a patented half block by Justin Rod, just denying any chance of Trifari opening that door on the inside of the racetrack, and it merged all the way to the apron. Thankfully, he didn't get any of those cars out of whack. That would have easily been a multi-car pileup had they both made further contact and gotten out of shape in the corner. But now Trifari drops back to the top 5. And again, it's really where the mid-pack starts to build up that things get really sketchy for position in the top 15, especially where Maggio is now in 12th. James Bomar, I mean, we mentioned his slide off of turn 2, fighting for the net race lead. It eventually got him out of whack, and he's recovered nicely. But this is just cutting your teeth through the field with 54 to go, knowing at least there's one more pit stop.
We saw just how close it got between both Bomar and Sawinski, as well as Maggio and Joaquin Stewart right there. You know you have a faster race car as Stewart gets way high on the racetrack, nearly getting the outside wall. You know you have a faster race car, so you're going to push the issue if you're Steven Maggio, if you're James Bomar, as we see Maggio slicing and dicing, showing absolutely no fear as he runs through this field. Already clear of Sawinski. He's shown to be the one guy that can really make these passes, and it's that aggression factor.
Oh, there's a spinner in the back of the field coming turn 1. Quincy Strawhacker went sideways. I saw that Dr. Pepper Toyota Camry now to the inside of the apron, but he's going to be under the racing line, so we are going to stay green as long as he's able to keep minimum pace. But that was trouble again, all in the mid-pack trying to fight for track position.
And it looked like he had quite a bit of damage to the rear bumper of that 49 car as well. Keep an eye on that as he'll make his way back around. Maggio up to 9th right now, chasing down Malachi Drake, Fidel Fabian. But out front, AJ Hyder stepping away from a trio of GOAT Inc. teammates. Let's take a look at what exactly happened with Quincy Strawhacker, because this was in the middle of the field. He's racing with Shockey Tarpley. He just seemingly loses it by himself on the apron. Kenneth, what'd you see there?
I don't know. That's just an awkward scenario to go sideways. You don't usually see drivers get out of shape when they're on the apron, especially when there's not someone behind them giving contact. So here's the look. I think the rear tires just lifted away. I don't know if he put too much input on the wheel or what, but that car was out of whack for a long while. That's a very bizarre scenario. That usually does not happen when you're running that quickly, but there was rear damage on the 49 before he ended up in that spill, so maybe that had an impact on it, the aerodynamic difference and the skewing of that rear spoiler. But again, that's such a rare scenario with these 1.5 miles. You don't see that often, but it just happened there to the 49 of Strawhacker.
There's front bumper damage on Shockey Tarpley, the 25 car, who was right behind him as well. Perhaps two had made contact a little earlier in the lap, or at least this run. Maggio gets by Malachi Drake, now working to the inside of Fidel Fabian. He's painting that white line. The next one up on his list will be Connor Trifari. Up into 8th place, and now we get a caution. With 48 laps to go, Austin Duran jumps over the curb on the infield road course. Bringing out this yellow. Kenneth, 48 to go right now. Our fuel window's 45. Does anyone dare stretch it?
I think you do. I think you have enough yellow laps where you can save fuel. I think it's worthy to take this gamble here. I mean, it's going to be right on close to the window. But remember, there's another lap that the field has to put in because they catch up to the pace car. So in reality, you're thinking right at the 45 marker when you come in on pit road. And then you do have to save maybe at least a lap or two on fuel if you want to ensure that you can make it to the race and if it stays green. So I think, yes, take the marker here. The laps are going to tick down here now that the pace car is picking up the field, and it's taking a while to do so. Come in on pit road. Do not waste your chance by staying out this time by.
Here we go. Hyder leads everyone in. 47 laps to go. It'll tick over to 46 while the drivers roll down pit road. So based off of our information, it's a 45-lap fuel window. We saw drivers go as long as 47 in that opening green flag stint. So I think that we'll be safely green to the end. Justin Rott wins the race off pit road. Then Jonathan Juergensmeyer. Then Steven Maggio. Goat Inc. 1, 2, 3. Coming off of pit road. AJ Hyder drops to 4th. And when you get 3 teammates in front of you, Kenneth, can't imagine that's something you like having.
You know what this reminds me of, Nate? You know that meme where it says, "Don't talk to me or my sons ever again"? Well, this is going to be it for AJ Hyder, having to work through 3 teammates on the track that we know are hard to pass, number 1. We know have been fast tonight, number 2. You put that combination together, and it might be the perfect storm that AJ Hyder cannot get around the rain bands in. But like we saw in the last pit stop sequence, there are drivers who did stay out, by the way. Larry Miles is on the racetrack, Austin Duran, and Wyatt Roberts. I'm not sure if I fully like this call from the 2 just because of that fuel window and how tight it's going to be. However, Nate, you do have to also factor in the consequences. These 2 have not been contenders for the lead all night long. They need a bulk of points to be able to be up in front. What they have done tonight has not been enough yet to make it over that red cut line and make it on to Martinsville. So in a way, you do have to be stretched into a call like this just to be able to have a chance remotely. If another yellow flies, if you get a good run and you stay up in front, then you'll be able to stay on through. But it looks like Austin Duran's going to give up the track position. So that's going to be a negative for him. But Wyatt Roberts is now going to be the last one available for this kind of strategy.
Yeah, Duran was the head scratcher to me as the driver that brought out the caution. The way that he tore through the infield, you would have thought that his tires must have been shot. No surprise to see Larry Miles stay out. That's been his bread and butter all race long, and we spoke pre-race to Wyatt Roberts about him being willing to pull strategy, and here he is doing it once again. But these drivers at the front of the field cannot make it to the end on fuel without a Herculean effort to save. Everybody else will be good with 45 laps to go. Larry Miles leads the field back to the green, stacks him up in the box, and he'll drive away. Maggio goes inside of Juergensmeyer. Rott goes inside of Robertson. He's going to have that spot pretty easily. Teammates drifting up the track off too. And Maggio out of line is going to fall back behind all these drivers drafting off one another as they head towards turn number 3. Jurg can't quite clear Roberts in 3 and 4. Now, everybody's line goes to the bottom on the front stretch, so Jurg gets clear. Maggio's going to be there in turns 1 and 2. Miles off the bottom of the racetrack. Through goes Justin Rott, new race leader. Once again, the 76 car.
And that's Toots fresh tires for the GOAT Incorporated cars of Rod, Juergensmeyer, and Maggio. And the rest are on 4. So that's obviously a big difference there on Miles and Roberts, who stayed out. But it's really going to be a battle between the teammates here, Nate, that are going to factor this in. The longer they do this, Hyder can be able to move on through as he's getting around Roberts now, entering turn 1, so that could slow them down. Maggio's been eager to get back to the front this entire race, but Juergensmeyer is not going to let him by without a punch.
Well, Juergensmeyer needs as many points as he can get. Came into the race 10 out of the next round of the Eliminator chase. Remember, he was a SAAC 6 driver a season ago, contended for a championship, was leading at the white flag of the championship race a season ago, wants to stay alive in contention for a SAAC Cup Series championship in Season 5. He's doing everything he can, working into second place, trying to get by Larry Miles as his teammate Justin Rott drives away out front. Hyder to the bottom of Maggio. Slides up behind him. They're going to keep on battling, and it's another GOAT Inc. driver in Micah Walls that sits in 5th, and I'm getting shades of the KBRN Truck Series, Kenneth, seeing all these GOAT Inc. vehicles right at the front of the field.
And the KBRN Truck Series Season 2 champion of Steven Maggio, who dominated, got hot at the right time in the chase format, and he's done so similarly here in the Eliminator chase, minus the dominant wins that have been in factor. But he's performed well thus far since his win at Las Vegas earlier this season. And, you know, I'm thinking of these drivers at the front. Oh, there's a spinner in the back.
Jamie Wright gets turned. Down the back straightaway, caution comes out. Now with 40 laps to go.
Well, now this puts a situation up for Larry Miles and Wyatt Roberts. Now that they have bled track position, do they come down pit road and just use a bit of fresh Goodyear Eagle, hoping that maybe the strategy changes for the rest of the night? But we're going to see what happened with Jamie Wright off of turn 2. And there was definitely contact on the way there. So he's fighting with Joaquin Stewart. That's the M&M Chevrolet at the top end of the racetrack. One of the faster cars in practice. Just didn't replicate it well in qualifying, and there might have been contact. No, just loose and then contact. So there was help after the fact. But Wright was sideways, and man, how many times have we seen cars go sideways off of turn number 2? They are blessing the fact that there is apron, a ton of it at the bottom of the track and not grass, because all of them have been able to keep it off the inside wall.
Certainly a blessing. And there's a lot of apron down there as well for them to go and get those cars gathered up. And as we continue to see these cautions come out, Kenneth, remember, there's only 5 tire sets allotted to these drivers in this race. And these drivers have started to eat through them. And with this rash of cautions that have been separated about every 10 laps or so, you got to begin to wonder, when does that 5th set get bolted on and you're done for the race?
I think, Nate,
how late are you willing to save that?
Sorry for interrupting. I think that's for overtime. I think if you see a late race yellow, and maybe you can think about it with under 10 laps to go, if the entire field comes down with you, but you got to save it for the end of the race. I think now you've set in your strategy, whether it's 2 or 4 tires, but you do have to keep that extra set just in case, because if you do waste all of it now, I mean, you get a late race restart and the rest of the field comes in behind you if you're the leader, or if you're just anyone in the pack and you gain track position, but you have severely old tires, it's going to be such a big detriment. And it's going to hurt your chances at being able to win the race, especially in a situation like this. But my biggest concern from the top 3 is conserving their tires now, because remember, they took right side tires only. They're on the oldest set of left side tires in the field, apart from Larry Miles and Wyatt Roberts, who didn't come in this time by, but they have relatively old left side, so they need to keep those cars collected underneath that pressure. The right side tires are going to be fine at the end. The left side tires you got to worry about, and that's where the strength goes for Hyder, for Michael Walls, and all those other cars that took 4 and are much more even on their wear than these guys are at the front.
And speaking on tire sets, Larry Miles, the best of the bunch, only come down pit road twice so far. He's got plenty to go in the pit box. He's got a lot to play with as this race rolls on, and he is keeping those cards close to his chest. 9 laps led, and he's been a player in the front of this field predominantly because of strategy. Qualified, not great, but has kind of just been on the alternate strategy, even staying out under caution and keeping his track position at the front of the field, working the clean air. GOAT teammates 1, 2, 3. Rott, Juergensmeyer, Maggio, then Larry Miles, AJ Hyder, then the other GOAT Inc. car, Michael Walls. Into the restart zone we go again. Justin Rott steps away from his teammates. Way to the inside, James Bomar wasting no time. And nearly making contact with Andretti Robinson. As these top 3 line up and check out, and we're going to have another caution right off of the restart. Jamie Wright again.
It's been cumbersome for those at the back of the field tonight. I mean, you see 36 laps to go, and you're telling yourself, well, look at the watch. Maybe it is game time now. I can start pushing forward, and Jamie being involved in these last 2, he's got obviously a lot more damage involved in this one, left rear. So it's going to be a little bit harder for Wright to be able to push the issue in the corners. Oh, and this is going to be involving a cut line driver in Wyatt Roberts. So this is near 3 wide in turn 1. There's the contact in the corner, and nowhere for Roberts to go.
That's a huge hit to the right side of the race car for Wyatt Roberts.
I mean, he was living on a prayer. He had just come down pit road, by the way. So I was agreeing with his call, but this is the only caveat. And there's just minor contact there. And by the time he had already made that trajectory up the racetrack, he is committing to being up the hill with the spinning Jamie Wright car. There is no way he's going to be able to get out of that, especially with the pace that they were going. So that is a big, dire circumstance for Roberts. I mean, he escapes most damage, but again, he's back in 23rd. If any more situations happen like that, it is going to be a dagger to his championship hopes now that the time is dwindling away.
As we continue to run laps under caution, we've known that those guys that came down under the caution with 45 to go are good on fuel, but the caution before that everybody else pitted under was with 57 laps to go. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but the way this race is trending, how many more cautions would you say some of those drivers would need to be able to shut the engine off, coast, and save enough fuel to not come back down anyway?
I think they might need this one, and I think they should be okay given the trajectory of pit stops that we've seen tonight. And for those who have been up front, they should be okay. They're right on the window. So you do want to save now for a bit of extra reassurance, but I think this caution is more than enough. The only big concern is overtime. I think that's what's on the mind of all these teams and drivers is that, yeah, you can save enough fuel for the checkered, but given the trend, the way this race has now shifted focus over the last few, are you thinking about extra attempts to finish this race and going past the scheduled distance? Because if so, then you have to save a lot more. So there may be some drivers who are already thinking way ahead and they're saving for that possible scenario, and others who are maybe just telling themselves, hey, I'll probably come down pit road when that happens anyway, and everyone will join me. You do really have to think about that now, especially those who possibly will need the points and are willing to take that risk of staying out. They can start to save a little more preemptively, understanding that there is a possibility we go longer. You never know.
It's going to have to wait and see. Cautions plaguing the second half of this race. Justin Rott still the leader. Then Jonathan Juergensmeyer, Steven Maggio, Larry Miles, AJ Hyder, the top 5. Nothing changed from the most recent restart. Just before this most recent caution. Everyone's single file behind the iRacing official pace car. On pins and needles. Wondering, will this be the last time the green flag flies in this race? Or will I have to do this all over again? Rott has been tested time and time again at the front of this field as another one as he gets into the Sunoco restart zone. The green flag flies, and Jonathan Juergensmeyer timed it perfectly in his rearview mirror. Further back, Walls gets to the inside of Hyder.
That's a great scenario there for Go Incorporated, having some of that pressure on the 44 car, so it alleviates the pressure you have at the front of this field. And then, of course, you have Larry Miles, who's on the old set of tires, so there's a bit more of breathing room between yourself and that 44 car, because we know how fast Hyder has been all night long. He's on the attack now. He makes the move off of turn 4. So now the Pepsi machine can start to find a way to work, but how difficult does it get to get past the 3?
Well, it starts with Steven Maggio. We've seen how tough to pass he can be, and part of it's because he's fast, part of it's because he plays defense with the best of them on iRacing. He's got a lot of track to make up, does the 44. Michael Wall's trying to work to the inside of Larry Miles now, and we've seen this time and time again. That car on old tires, once the seal breaks, the first car gets by him, it's game over, and everyone else starts to attack. Michael Walls is by, Andretti Robinson's to the inside. Bomar is waiting in the wings. He's also going to go to the inside. How about 3 wide in turn 1, trying to get by Larry Miles on the old tires, and they'll all get it done.
That's just a tough scenario to be in. Look at this crossover from James Bomar. We saw Micah sent it into the corner, ate a piece of that white line, and got the apron, so he had to chase it up the racetrack in turn 4. That loses you a lot of time, and when that momentum is scrapped away, all of those drivers behind that build up a run off turn 4, they can start to plan and blueprint their next move. And what a drive for James Bomar and Steven Maggio. I mean, those are 2 cars who are at the very back of the field for different reasons, and all of a sudden they find themselves back in the placement to go out and win this race with enough time to spare.
Still out front, Justin Rott leading Jonathan Juergensmeyer and Steven Maggio, his 2 teammates. And they have both fallen pretty far behind this 76. Rott has been the class of the field, and without him, AJ Hyder, this entire race, getting into clean air and stepping away from everybody else. Jonathan Juergensmeyer nailed the restart right in Rott's rearview mirror, and still, by the time they got to turn 3, Justin was well ahead, and now Maggio trying to work by the 00. Right down the inside.
There's just some kind of art for Maggio to get around traffic and not flinch. Oh, there's contact off turn 4, saves it.
Wow. Teammates getting together on the exit of turn 4. That's the kind of defense we're seeing again. Juergensmeyer racing for more than just second place. He's racing, clinging to his life in the Eliminator chase. 10 points out when we dropped the green earlier.
Well, he knows he's ahead of a lot of other pink and purple bannered Eliminator chase drivers, but the last thing he wants to do is bleed further. And then when that door opens with Maggio, does it open all the way with Bomar and Hyder and all those other Eliminator chase drivers that are not too far away in the distance? And Maggio just has this art of getting past cars in traffic at 1.5 miles. He gained 25 spots at Las Vegas in the win from 26 on the grid. And tonight has been no different. From the pit road speeding penalty, falling a lap down, getting back on the lead lap, and still having to work through traffic. This has been a drive of a lifetime, but he still has 1 car to go, and it's 1 second between the 2.
Rott was eliminated a week ago, and he has stepped out from the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Bomar gets clear of AJ Hyder, moved the 20 up to the 4th spot, trailing behind Juergensmeyer and Maggio. And thinking on Juerg's chase position, likely, well, certainly ahead of Wyatt Roberts and Austin Duran. Andretti Robinson is the driver that he was 10 points behind, and he sits just a couple positions behind that 00. He's that black Monster Energy Ford with 3 cars between Juerg and he. That's really, I think, the battle on this cut line. He was the one car that felt passable. Christopher Robinson, 44 up, sits in the middle part of the top 20, around 15th. That's the battle to watch, the 45 and the 00, as this race wears on. But out front, Justin has checked out.
Yeah, he's been in a league of his own. He had that second of an advantage, but don't look now, Nate, because that gap is closing down. Steven Maggio put in a lap about a full 10th faster than Rott did last time by, and I think Rott just took notice because now he's the faster car out of the two, 30.9, while Maggio set a 30.93. So there is a small difference there, but there is going to be pressure for sure, and I think that has allowed Justin Rott to be in that bag of, okay, let's start pushing a little more. 23 laps to go. Let's start trying to make that gap a little bit longer. And AJ Hyder is starting to struggle here. I mean, these tires elevated. All these cautions that have come out, they've leveled the competition. So 2 versus 4 is not as big of a difference in the favor of 4 tires as it was off of the recent pit stop. And you can tell just how much more difficult it is for not only Hyder but Robinson to make these passes now that things have warmed up and the tire have gone through a bit of a cycle.
Yeah, it feels like the balance is not where it was for that 44 car earlier in the race. He was able to drive away, and remember, that was in a lot of clean air that he was able to step away from the field. Now he's shrouded in dirty air with a lot of fast race cars on what are essentially equivalent tires. And we've seen it before like that, Kenneth, where a guy gets out front in the clean air, and of course the car is going to handle great in clean air, and the handle just goes away when you get shrouded in traffic like this.
Yeah, and then you just feel that front nose lifting. It almost feels like you're driving a boat for a split second, and especially here off turn 4. I mean, we've seen that countless times. If you're Andretti Robinson, that right front is going to go away. There's contact off turn 4, fighting for position. But when you've got that car in front of you, you can feel the nose lighten. You don't feel the turn in anymore, and then you're just on for the ride. You have to let off the throttle just to find any semblance of rotation in the car. And right there, Hyder has no other choice but to back out the throttle, or else he's stuffing the wall. Robinson playing defensively here for 6th place.
And again, he's one of those drivers fighting for his life in the Eliminator chase. Needs every position that he can get. He wants to get closer to that 0-0. And a caution flies again. With 20 laps to go, it's Shockey Tarpley around and in the outside wall.
Not the first time we've seen Tarpley in trouble. This time, though, with damage. We saw him go for the spill. Remember, Nate, earlier in this race on the back straightaway, and that didn't bring out a yellow. So this time it does, but at the cost of, well, what's going to be mostly a torn-up race car. We'll get a second look here. I mean, this is in the middle of traffic. Christopher Robinson, see how far he is from Austin Dillon and a few other Eliminator chase drivers. He doesn't want to lose any more points, but this is, again, the situation that befell Jason Rajcock. It's the aero pack effect. Car gets loose. Tarpley overcorrects hard into the side of Robinson. Not sure how much damage is on that 12 car for sure, but regardless, that is a sizable hit to the machine and to the outside wall. Here's the other look.
And this is a pretty big hit, mostly flush for that 12 car, but any amount of damage that he has makes the conversation regarding the points that much more interesting, because remember, with the multipliers, double points for your best finishes, quarter points for your worst finish, we could see a huge shakeup. 44 points doesn't seem like that big of a gap when we're looking at those multipliers added to the way these cars are running right now. And here we go, everybody on pit road with 18 laps to go. Rott's going to win the race off. Maggio, Juergensmeyer, Bomar. So fuel no longer a question. Now it's a matter of the tires if we see another yellow flag fly.
And who stays out, Nate? Austin Dillon
There you go.
and Wyatt Roberts. The 2 drivers that need the most points. That's going to be huge. 20 laps for Dillon, 16 laps on Roberts' car. I mean, we saw even with a difference of maybe 3 or 4 laps just how big the speed difference was with fresh tires and old tires, whether it's 2 or 4. And I think that might be the same here for Roberts and Dillon. They just have to pull off a Daniel Suarez Coca-Cola 600 type restart. Fight for their life. Put the dirty air everywhere on the track. Try and litter these cars with fresh tires. Any opportunity at getting by. But it's going to be single file, so it's going to give that opportunity in 1 and 2 for all those fresh tire cars to spread out across the track and make a move if they want to.
And they do have that clean air to their advantage to get their cars to turn just that little bit better. And it gets to a point where this is the only move you have in your bag. We spoke to Wyatt Roberts pre-race. This is the strategy that he pulled at Kentucky Didn't win him the race, but it earned him a nice finish. That's what he's hoping for right now. Because as they run, he's right there on par with the 52, 00, and 45. All those drivers in that elimination bubble. Rott the first on fresh tires. It'll be 16 to go when we hit the box and take the green flag. Most everybody on their final set of tires, a couple of the drivers that have stayed out throughout this race will have an extra step, maybe two if you're Larry Miles. Other than that, the gambit's set. It's time to dance. We take a look at Austin Duran as he finds the pedal on the right-hand side, steps away from the field. The green flag flies again at Kansas. And he has plenty gone. Roberts already getting by the 76 and the 51 to the north of the racetrack. Bomar working on Juergensmeyer. Roberts drops the anchor.
That was a great start from Justin Rahn and Steven Maggio. You can tell they coordinated that restart really well. They were pushing each other, trying to shove and get around Wyatt Roberts, and they have a heap of momentum on Austin Duran. It will not take long before Rod is there to the back bumper off turn 4.
52 trying to make it wide, trying to put as much dirty air as he can on the nose of the 76. Can't get the block complete as they head to 1. Rott's got the preferred lane, middle groove outside of the 52. Fresh tires put him back in the race lead. Justin Rott steps away. Now he's going to try to break the draft from the 51, who is clear for second, and we've got a battle between teammates with 15 laps to go in the Heartland.
And I want to know if Steven Maggio, how hard is he going to push here on this restart? We know these two are very well acquainted with each other on the racetrack. We know how aggressive they can be. And even when you're friends, sometimes you'll race your friends harder than you do others that you don't really know, because you know how they drive, you know their weaknesses, you know their strengths, you know every facet of the way they manage a race car in a situation like this. And it's not the first time we've seen these two go mano-a-mano. Maggio with a great run on the bottom, though, off 4.
Closes right to the rear bumper of the 76. Got a little bit of dirty air on exit. Both of them get sideways. Rott's way sideways. He got the grass almost, and he's side by side with Maggio now in turn 1. Maggio up by the wall.
Well, it's almost the same thing that happened
teammates.
with Quincy Strawhacker. He got loose on the apron. He got the left side tires on the grass and then tried to take the line away from Maggio, but he just couldn't do it. The door was open, and Maggio to the front in a wild move to 13 laps to go.
And now Rott in a position that he's not really been in much of the second part of this race, where he's chasing down a leader on equal tires. He's won races off pit road most of this race. And now he's chasing down his teammate. Guy who he chased down for much of the KBRN Truck Series season that ended just about a month ago. It's deja vu all over again for driver 76. Austin Duran gets the wall. He's fallen through this field, getting passed by the 45, already got passed by the 00. A couple of those guys that he really needed to stay in front of. It was a good strategy call, throwing everything he could at it. But right now, coming up, no dice for the 52.
Yeah, he's been back and forth all race long. He hasn't had the pace. He struggled just a little bit. And I really commend that call from Austin Duran and Wyatt Roberts. I mean, you got to do something. You got to try something alternatively and hope that it pans out in your favor. And even then, there still could be a good finish in the cards for Austin Duran. It just may not be a spot that's good enough to have him move on into the next round at Martinsville. And even then, you think about just squeezing by this round of elimination, and then you think about having to survive another round at Martinsville next Thursday. I mean, talk about stress levels 101. That is just unbelievable for them to have to deal with. But now it's everybody at the front. A lot of them very comfortable in this Eliminator chase race, trying to hold on for good points, and Maggio trying to win 2 mile-and-a-half races this year.
No one in this field, however, more comfortable points-wise than Justin Rott, because he's already out. He's got nothing to lose. He's foot to the floor doing everything he can. All he cares about is the checkered flag. He's led 52 laps tonight. One of the highest lap-led totals of his SAAC Cup Series career. He's never won in the SAAC Cup Series on iRacing. And we've already seen a couple of first-time SAAC Cup Series winners this season. He's trying to chase down that 51, his teammate again, and that gap kind of yo-yoing between 1/10.5 and 3/10 between driver 51 and driver 76. It's Goat Inc. 1, 2, 3, 4. Locking out the top of the scoring pylon.
You know, I love this look from Justin Rod because you can tell the different lines that he is trying to find pace in. And we've seen him very comfortable on that first black line, that first seam, as we call it on the racetrack. He's been so great and dominant at that part. But Maggio's been taking that away as of late. As soon as he got up in that lane, Raw had a hard time getting back in the throttle, even when she was already in the throttle by the apex, and then had to just breathe it a little longer, and that is enough to make a big difference in these cars with how fast you are going into these corners with. I mean, it's enough to manage at least a 3/10 of a second gap, but it's going to be very difficult for Raw to make any kind of imprint on this 51 and close in. It's one thing to catch a driver, it's always another thing to make that pass, and the time is going away for the 76 car.
Just 6 laps to go at Kansas. Maggio pretty consistently now 3/10 up over the course of the last few laps. As I say that, the lead dips back down inside of 3/10. But we talk about the consistency from the driver of the 51, not a guy that makes a lot of mistakes. And it feels like that's what it's going to take for the 76 to get back by. He's running good lap times. Almost even with the 51, sometimes a touch faster, sometimes a skosh slower. He's changed his lane, going up the racetrack a little bit more. And he's getting a nice, hefty dose of that draft going down the straightaways.
But it just may not be enough here to get around Maggio with 4 laps to go. I think Maggio can be in a place where he doesn't let Rott get any closer than 3/10 of a second. But maybe he doesn't need to be a second behind. That would obviously feel better if you're Maggio. But if you can keep him at around a jab's distance, then you'll be fine at this juncture, knowing that third on back is not really a conversation. They're battling it amongst themselves. But for Maggio in his championship campaign, Nate, he had top 10s in basically every single Eliminator chase race going into that finale and won back-to-back to close off the title at Las Vegas. And what does he do here when the Eliminator chase begins at Las Vegas? He wins, and then he just continues to perform at the top level.
Oh, we got a
Another
spinner
spinning!
further back in the field. Walls hard on the outside. And just like that, overtime. The one word that Steven Maggio did not want to hear.
Look at what happens here, turns 3 and 4. There's already a body of contact there between Bomar and Walls. They built that resume with each other, making the contact, and then here comes Robinson. I think he just tried to make it 3 wide, but it was staggered. So I'm not sure if Walls even really knew that Robinson was there. So they make the contact, and it's not the first bit of the hit that gets the 24 out of whack and out of this race. It's going to be the second piece of contact, a hard nose-first impact into the outside wall. So watch that black and green monster Ford. He makes a move to the middle. Walls tries to shut him off, and he just doesn't. Hangs on the nose of James Bomar and then careens into the outside safer barrier. Just a hard end to a driver who got eliminated last week, Nate, and hasn't seen the blessing of a good finish since.
Well, he's today put in one of his best races of the season. It's been no secret that the SAAC Cup Series hasn't been very kind to Micah Walls in 2026. Much unlike a lot of the other leagues he's been running. This has been the one where he's seen snake bit. Thought it might have started to go away today. Good top 5 run with the rest of his teammates, and it all comes undone on the front stretch. And now they all gather up behind the iRacing official pace car one more time. Looking at overtime.
Well, now, Nate, I ask you, do you think we're going to have more attempts? Because it just seems like with this race and the desperation that's made itself apparent here in this final stint, I wouldn't be surprised if we go at least into a second overtime before the field sorts itself out.
When I would look deeper in the field and, think about the guys that we've seen stay out consistently. Deron Roberts, potentially thinking, hey, I stayed out. That means I've got an extra set of tires. There's no other moves that they can do other than just kind of zig when the rest of the field zags. And if they were to go put on fresh tires, no matter what, they're going to have to carve through the field. Looks like everyone's going to stay out. That's the aggression we're going to see. And Duran's positioning isn't so terrible compared to the rest of the field. He could certainly be the benefactor of some chaos.
Yeah, Duran only fell to 10th place after the restart, so he stabilized at a given point. And that's obviously good news because when the race goes green, everyone levels out on tires. You think, when is the bleeding going to stop? And when you finally get a gauge on it and you're able to slow things down, think a little more calmly, and then just focus on your run and just getting a good position. Even if Duran doesn't advance, this is still going to be a nice pickup on a call that at one point looked like it was going to be the race over for the 52. And he can still walk away with the top 10, maybe some more now that there has been chaos. Michael Walls is one more car that got eliminated from this thing after the crash, so that's another spot that Duran gains, and there could be more on the cards if there's more drama. So you really quite never know, but obviously the focus is on Maggio here. Rod has a second breath of life to get a restart good enough to put some force on the 51, but will it be enough on the first attempt?
Behind the two leaders, Robinson and Jurgensmeyer, fighting for what could be the last transfer spot into the next round. Steven Maggio into the restart zone, finds the gas pedal, spins the tires a little, so too does Rod. He's up on the outside wall. Robinson to the inside of Jurgensmeyer. Maggio steps away from the rest of the field.
We saw that car out of shape
Overtime
there.
off to a start.
I don't know if the rear tires just lifted up from underneath him or whether he just had a hit from behind from Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, who was saying, hey, let's go. We're on a green flag restart. Rod all the way back to 5th. And now Maggio can pull away to make the race official.
Pulling way out over his teammate, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, who again fighting that 45 for what could be the last transfer spot. White flag in the air at Kansas Speedway. Steven Maggio came to Las Vegas to open the Eliminator chase, the track that he had most recently won at, the Season 3 championship. Took the checkered flag there, trying to stake his claim at another SAAC Cup Series title. He's had to work hard in the second half of the season to climb the point standings. The championship's at a mile and a half, and Maggio's going to go back-to-back in the chase. He wins at Kansas. And spinning through the infield is James Bomar, wildly up the track into everybody else. How about it for Steven Maggio?
I mean, 2 wins.
Second win of the season.
In the last 4 races, Nate. That is called, like I said earlier, how many times did I say through this broadcast? Getting hot at the right time. I mean, Maggio back in championship form, and mile and a half certainly suiting him well. Another drive to the field and gets to celebrate.
Burning it down. His number 51 Aris Toyota Camry. I'm sure his heart sank when he saw the caution lights come on for overtime. But he survives and thrives here in America's heartland. As for that battle for the Eliminator chase cut line, we'll keep our eye on that. We take a look at today's results from Kansas Speedway. Steven Maggio comes home with the race win. Jurgensmeyer needed a great finish, got a great finish in second. The problem, Andretti Robinson right there in third place. That's the guy Jurg needed to get past. We'll see if it's enough. James Bomar in fourth, Justin Rott fifth. AJ Hyder dominant, ends up in sixth. Connor Trafari fights through a tough day, finishes seventh. Malachi Drake, how about it? Finishes in the 8th position. Then Amir Bascom. Quincy Strawhacker, we saw him spun around with heavy damage. He comes home with a top 10 finish.
11th will go to Ollie Reeves. Larry Miles back in 12th. Austin Doran, we saw him in the top 10 at the green flag of the last restart, but he fell back a little bit there late. Ends up 13th. Donovan David and Connor Zola round out the top 15. Jason Radchcock, Joaquin Stewart, Brad Sawinski, Fidel Fabian, among mid-pack drivers. Some of them had trouble tonight and still rebounded nicely, especially for Zola and Radchcock, but severe damage early on, and Wyatt Roberts on a late call, and the 42 car ends up in the top 20, but most likely eliminated from the Eliminator chase after tonight.
Beyond the top 20, Nicholas Borowski 21st, Shockey Tarpley in 22nd. Micah Walls, we saw him in that crash. He comes home 23rd. Declan George 24th, but this is where I want to circle. We saw the damage to the 12 of Christopher Robinson. He came home 25th. He was 44 points to the good coming into the race. But with those two drivers finishing in the top 3 that were chasing him down, this could be a disaster for the 12 car. Jamie Wright comes home 26th after a couple of accidents. Cody Riveras in 27th. Gabe Cazola in 28th. Thurston disconnected early, finishes 29th, and Ellis Wells comes home in 30th. What a race we just witnessed, and the man of the hour, Stephen Maggio, joins us now from Victory Lane. Stephen, first and foremost, congratulations, and take me through that last run of the race, because you came to life in the last third.
Yeah, 2 tires will do that to you when the car is tight. I was really tight at the beginning, and I just didn't have it really at the in the first run. I was pretty slow. It was a little disappointing, but I knew it was a long race still, so I was just trying to keep my head in it. And then I sped in the pits, and then came back out. And I don't really remember the incident too well. I just know that I was in a bad spot that I put myself in, and I spun down the backstretch. And I was like, I think literally only 1 second ahead of AJ, who was the leader, to go 2 laps down when the caution came out. So that saved me. And I was able to get back out there, get the lucky dog, start in the back, then it was a grind to just try to drive through the field again. And the cautions were falling pretty weird because we were only running like 7 laps, 10 laps, like 11 laps, and then a caution would come out, and it was like, do we take tires here? Do we take tires here? 4-2, and then we had a run where it was kind of like perfect for me. It was around 15 to 20 laps. I don't remember the exact number, but it was just, for me, the perfect amount of laps to take 2, because the left sides had worn enough to where the 2 tires would give me more rotation, and I needed the spots because I was still in the teens. So I took 2, and I came out, I think, like 3rd, and then restarted around 5th. And yeah, that just put me in a spot to just fight for it. And I was going to give Justin everything I had there, and I'm not really sure what happened on the front stretch when he drove through the grass there a little bit. It looked like it got him out of sorts more than I expected. Because I literally queued up to like kind of mess with him and be like, oh, you're not supposed to go in there or whatever. But then it like in the middle of queuing up, he was like wrecking all of a sudden. So I had to like make sure I wasn't wrecked and try to pass him. And yeah, I got the lead. And from that point on, I'm just waiting for the inevitable caution that always comes out for when I'm leading like 5 laps to go. You know it's coming, so you're just waiting for it. And it happened, and I'm just happy that I wasn't. If Justin had gotten a very good restart there, I would have had him on my bumper, and the air pack would have been scary going into 1. But unfortunately for him, he spun his tires, and that kind of just let me cruise for the last 2 laps, and somehow got the win.
We figured up in the booth that your heart had to have sank when you saw those yellow lights come on the catch fence. But you have gotten off to a great start of this Eliminator chase, and we mentioned having to get hot at the right time. Do you think that that's what's going on right now?
Yeah, I think I'm usually pretty good at that. Not related to my own horn, but I usually perform better in the chase than not in the chase across a multitude of leagues. And yeah, it's been good. I got the win at Vegas. I got the win tonight, and I was battling for the win at Vegas when all that shenanigans went down. Still not really over that one. It was pretty frustrating, but and then yeah, we got 3rd at Dover. So worst finish so far is 4th. So we locked in at the right time, and hopefully we can just escape Martinsville. But I mean, even if we don't, we have that drop week now, and with a 1st, 3rd, 4th, 1st, I'm not too worried about it anymore.
And you win at Vegas. Now you win at Kansas. The championship race at another progressively banked, worn out, 1.5-mile racetrack in Miami. What does that do for your confidence overall?
Yeah, I used to think I was pretty bad at that track in the next gen, but the last couple times we've raced there, I've been really good. So I'm pretty confident actually going in there that I will be battling for the win. It's just going to be a matter of how close to the leader I am going into the race, because obviously it's a triple points race, but still, if I know Thurston lagged out, or he got disqualified tonight by iRacing, and they couldn't clear the flag, so he lost a lot of points. But Bomar still finished fourth, so he's gonna have a pretty good gap to me. But we really won't know until after Martinsville what the gap is. And at that point, the most I can do is go out there, try to lead the most laps, and get a W. And then I'll just kind of be hoping that Bomar has some difficulties, or whoever's the leader has some difficulties. And yeah, I'm just gonna try to control what I can control. And if Bomar's able to be good enough to hold me off, then there's nothing else I can do. So.
And then before we let you go here, Steven, is there anybody that you wanted to thank and shout out for this win here tonight?
Yeah, before I get into my usual shoutouts, I want to focus some time and give a genuine shout out to Justin Rott because he ran an amazing race today. And the whole race, pretty much, I was thinking, like, man, Justin's so fast today. Justin's so fast today. This is the best I've ever seen him in a race. Like, this is the best performance I've ever seen. He has genuine speed. And it just didn't really, I don't know what happened at the end there, but he deserved to have a podium in an interview tonight. And I just wanted to give a shout out to him because it was a very good performance. And shout out the GOAT guys. We were gonna finish 1, 2, 3, 4 until that caution. I know Michael was the cause of the caution, so I can't really say that we got robbed of that. But it was gonna be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then almost a 1, 2, 3 at the end. But I shout out to them. We had a really good run today. And shout out you guys in the booth as always. Do a great job. I can't wait to go watch it back, especially with the fact that I had to drive through the field. And shout out all the guys watching the stream. Shout out all the guys watching my stream. And shout out Cody for putting on the league.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Steven, and congrats again on a great win here at Kansas. Go enjoy it.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. God bless.
It's race winner from Kansas Speedway. Steven Maggio comes home with his second checkered flag of the Eliminator chase. Let's go to Kenneth. He's caught up with second place, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer.
Now we are still waiting on official word from Cody Riveris and the race admins on whether Jonathan Jurgensmeyer made it on to the next round at Martinsville. But Jonathan, this was the best thing you could have ever done other than win the race. I mean, you had a great car at the end of it all. A lot of it happened through strategy, but you made the most of it at the end. What did this car feel like in the final few restarts and just trying to gain as much track position and points as possible?
Yeah, it was certainly a very confusing strategy race with the 2 and the 4 and the people staying out and everything, but I feel like I managed it pretty well. I really wanted to get on 4 tires on one of those last stops, but I just kept taking 2, like pretty much since lap 70 maybe up to the end of the race, and I kept taking 2 and kept taking 2 and kept the track position, and I feel like I held it pretty well. I did hold it pretty well. So it's a great run. Finishing second, I haven't had a good run all season. It's been very bad. I feel like just the changes to the season with the single file restarts and everything, it really hurts me because I'm not a great qualifier and it's hard for me to pass people when we're single file restarts. So qualifying well and being in the mix all day, it felt pretty cool. And yeah.
So you weave your way forward. A lot of the teammates that were with you, of course, Rott and Maggio were there. Maggio was talking about how you and Rott were performing well, especially there at the end. We did just get word, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but you are the first driver out of the Eliminator chase after this race. But you did give it your all there. So what can you take away from at least this night, the way it went, and even though it is just one spot short of moving on to the next round at Martinsville, what you can do in these next 2 to keep that momentum high and end the season on a good note?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about not making it. Last season, I had my greatest iRacing stretch probably ever and still didn't win the championship. So it's very tough, and I know I haven't really been at performing that great this season. So it is what it is. I like racing for wins more than racing for championships. I feel like that's a lot more enjoyable, and it's nice. It's nice with this format. Gives me a bit more of a chance, but yeah, I really do want to make it to the next round. But I'm not too concerned. Martinsville's next, and I know I will not be anywhere near the front at Martinsville, so I didn't expect much. So coming this close anyways, where I entered entered probably last out of the guys in the chase, maybe. So, to come up 4 points short, it's a valiant effort. But yeah, it's nice.
Regardless here, top 2 at Kansas Speedway. I do want to ask you, though, because these next 2 are very interesting, especially the one that's coming up next Thursday, because I don't think we've covered a race at Martinsville on KBRN since, I want to say, 2021. It's been such a long time. So what do you make of visiting Martinsville in the SAAC Cup Series next week?
I'm always down for something different. I'm down for anything with leagues. I feel like some leagues are a little too nervous with their scheduling, and I feel like SAAC is really good at just saying, hey, we'll figure it out, and if we don't, it's a video game, so who cares? I like it. Is it gonna be a good race? I don't know. I personally haven't done a league race at Martinsville in probably 2.5 years. I don't know, something like that. But I know SAAC went here for the Clash maybe a season or 2 ago, and it was a pretty good race. It was pretty clean. Hyder and Trifari led the entire race, if you could believe it or not. But with points, with it being the second to last race, I don't know how it's gonna go. For me personally, I hope it's chaotic, and I hope it's not just boring. But we'll see how it goes. This is Martinsville. I'm sure it'll put on a great show.
Well, hey, regardless, we'll see you there. The rest of the SAAC Cup Series field and should be a lot of fun. Jonathan, before we let you slide here on the second place finish here from Kansas, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thank for the run?
Yeah, shout out to all my teammates, Justin, Micah, Steven, and Rivers. His name is on the team apparently, and with how we're running today, I thought we were gonna have a 1, 2, 3, 4 until Micah sold it away. But it's cool to be running as well with these guys that I've known for a while. We've won the last 2 team championships in this league, and the team championships pay a lot of money. So it's hopefully we could pull through at Martinsville. I hope those guys are good at Martinsville, because I'm sure not. But shout out to all those guys. Shout out to who else? Shout out to Gabe. Shout out to Jared. Shout out to Travis. Shout out to the Spurs. And we'll go to the next race.
Well, Jonathan, congratulations on the second place finish here tonight from Kansas. We can always talk about the Spurs at any given other time. Maybe not after last night's festivities, but
yeah.
On a real serious note, we appreciate the time as always, Jonathan. Good to talk to you. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks.
That's Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, second place here from the virtual Kansas Speedway, and that leaves us, Nate, with just one driver to go, and Andretti Robinson sneaks by to the next round and finishes third.
Andretti, congratulations first and foremost on a podium finish, getting through to the next round, and you were kind of in the thick of it all race long. What's it like just being woed up in all that traffic?
Yeah, man, I had a terrible qualifying. I took it easy. I really did not want to hit the wall, but taking it easy made me start deep in the field. But that long run definitely helped. I drove through the field before the pit cycle, and then the cautions came down. But I felt like I definitely had a top 5 car. Race winning car, I don't know. If we had another long run, maybe. I think if I was able to drive through the field with no yellows, I think I can get to the lead. But yeah, this podium is huge. That wreck at the end there, I feel like Micah just turned himself. Like, I was there. I knew Bomar was going to go to the apron, so I faked him out, and then the wreck happened. I feel like that was a racing incident. But heading into Martinsville, I'm okay there, but minus 32 back, I don't know. I need some luck on my side.
You mentioned those cautions that we had in the middle portion of the race all the way through to the end. We saw so many different strategies, different guys taking 2 tires, staying out, taking 4 tires. It seemed like at points of the race, every driver in the field was in a different strategy. How did you navigate that?
I was just listening to my teammates. Cody is so good with strategy calls. That dude is so smart when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I thought about taking 4, but he said no, take 2 towards the end, and obviously that was the right call. I feel like late in the race, with how these races go, track position is more important than anything. So taking 2 is 100% the right call.
And then all race long, I mean, you come in just +6 on the cut line, especially toward the end. You're racing against Jurg, who was very close to you in the points as well. Having the stress of being so close to the cut line, how did that play out tonight? And having that experience, how's that going to help you next weekend at Martinsville?
You just got to keep digging, man. Honestly, my back was against the wall last week at Dover 2, and I got a top 5. Same thing today, got another top 5. This time though, I'm just full offense. I'm not playing defense. Way too big of a gap to make up on just points. I think I got to go into next week with the must-win mentality. I feel like that's the only way I can make it to next week.
Before we let you go here, Andretti, anybody that you wanted to thank and shout out for a nice top 3 finish here tonight?
Definitely Cody Rivera's and my brother Christopher. We got 3 of our cars into the next round. Yeah, we're all 3 on the outside looking in, but I think this is a huge show to the league that our team is here. But team points, we were so close to passing ECE, and then GOAT got by us with 4 cars in the top 10. But honestly, looking forward, I think the team championship is definitely at the top of our list.
Well, thanks for joining us again, Andretti, and congratulations on a top 3 finish here tonight. We'll give you good luck next week in Martinsville.
All right. Thank you, guys. See y'all next week.
Andretti Robinson, last one through to the penultimate round of the Eliminator Chase, Martinsville Speedway, June 18th, a week from tonight, before we head to Homestead Miami Speedway to crown a champion in Season 5 of the SAAC Cup Series, Kenneth.
And it is going to be a doozy at the Paperclip. Again, first broadcast at Martinsville Speedway on the KBueno Racing Network since it has to be 2021, so at least over 4, probably 5 years since we've done a broadcast proper from that track in Martinsville, Virginia. It's a half-miler, it's super tight, it has a lot of braking zones that are more than worthy of drivers giving chrome horns and bumpers to each other. It's going to be a very physical race, probably very chaotic, but again, super pivotal in those who advance and those who go home.
We saw the chaos on the short track at Bristol at the halfway point of this season. No doubt we're going to see a little bit more of that next week at Martinsville Speedway. We saw some chaos tonight as well, Kenneth. Final thoughts?
Well, overall, I mean, this was a blend of a wild race. We had lots of green flag strategy. We had the caution strategy, lots of 2-tire calls. But you really can never take the fight out of a driver like Steven Maggio. He did it in Las Vegas, and he showed us that he can do it almost every single time he's got his back against the wall. He was a lap down earlier in the race, not in a lucky dog position. And what does he do? He doesn't complain. He doesn't wail in his sorrows. He gets back to work. He puts his head down, and he works his way through the field in order to win this race and give himself an even better shot at being a part of that 6 that make it to the SAAC finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. So an undeniable drive from Steven Maggio. And honestly, with the way we saw the competition tonight, even those others that finished well and are in the running for the championship, they still have a lot more they can make in terms of statements for Homestead. And that should be very competitive in a few weeks.
Steven Maggio continues to chip away at that points lead, trying to fight his way forward to another SAAC Cup Series championship. Still chasing the Jameses, Thurston and Bomar. Coming up on the KBueno Racing Network Sunday, dropping the Hammer Cup Series heads to Phoenix Raceway, and in a week's time, we're here at the Paperclip for some more SAAC Cup Series action, the penultimate round of the Eliminator Chase in Season 5. For Kenneth Bueno and the rest of the KBRN production team, I'm Nate Polite. Thanks for joining us.